What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Emotional, and guess what?
I'm back, and I'm better than ever.
What's going on, y'all? We back at it for another reaction video. This is Tom MacDonald drops facts about the terrible influence of mainstream rap. So I saw this and I was like, let's go ahead and check it out. So like, comment, subscribe. Now, baby, let's vibe. Hit the button, baby.
The music industry is as close to criminal as you can possibly get without going to prison.
Your rapper that you're listening to is talking about having Percocets in Abu Dhabi, but you're in a library in Chicago. It's like, be self-aware.
And that's a much better place to be.
It is. So how do you feel about the cultural appropriation allegations?
I mean...
Uh-oh.
Fuck you.
Well, that's straight to the point.
Hey everyone, I'm Xavier DeRusso from PragerU, and I'm here with recording artist, singer, and rapper Tom MacDonald. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored. Good. Thank you for stopping by today. You're here to film a Stories of Us episode. How's that going?
It was a blast. There was some good stories. There's a little bit of tears in there. It was a big one. Big one. It's pretty hard to go through my life story without shedding a tear, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, today we won't be too heavy. It's going to be lighthearted because you already told the full story. I can't wait to see that Stories of Us episode. I am hoping I can get a little sneak peek though. Did you talk about your wrestling career?
I think we did talk about wrestling a little bit.
You did?
I mean, it's pretty hard to go from birth to present day with wrestling was such a huge part of my life. So there's definitely some like spandex stories and stuff in there for sure.
Shout out to my wrestling
What made
fans.
you walk away from that?
Man, the pro wrestling business is even more political than the political game.
Really?
It's a difficult business. So bad politics combined with accumulated injuries, it was just time for me to go somewhere and do something else where I didn't have to get hit with steel chairs and put through tables and stuff, you know?
Fair enough. Yeah. It's like a little known fact about me. I'm actually a huge diehard WWE fan.
No kidding.
Shout out, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Watch twice a week. So we're basically cousins. We're just alike. We're blonde. We're anti-woke.
We're black.
We're black. Yes, we are very black. I'm actually part Chinese too.
Oh, sick.
Yes,
Sick.
Learned that. Best thing to happen to me. But it is also full circle that I get to sit down with you now, because about 5 years ago, I was a whole hater because I was woke and I was so triggered by your song, People So Stupid.
It's because that song was about you at that point in time.
It was Xavier So Stupid. Yeah. It applied. Every single bar applied to me.
Good. I'm glad. You know.
Did we do that song? Did we react to that? I don't even know if we did that. Did we do that song? I feel like we did, but then again, because I be reacting to so much stuff, I just don't know. I don't know. Did we do that? Oh, we did do that. Oh, okay. I knew I wasn't tripping. I thought we did that. But we did that in like 2022. I don't even remember how that went.
I really enjoy when my music reaches the people who need it most when they need it most. It also makes me really happy to hear that it's pissed somebody off.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, my mission objective is to uplift and empower. But as sort of like a happy little byproduct, if I can trigger a bunch of morons along the way, that's a bonus.
Yeah. I always say the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off.
Absolutely.
So you need to hear it. And I needed to at the time. And I'm not going to lie, the part that, and I think differently nowadays, but I remember watching it and I was like, how dare this white man sit here and appropriate my culture as if I've ever written a rap and then diss me on it.
Yeah. So
how do you feel about the cultural appropriation allegations?
I mean... you.
Well, that's to the point.
Like, people always say like, hip hop, it's our house and you're a guest in our house. And like, I never asked anybody to enter anybody's house. I built my own house across the street and I'm going to stand in the front yard and yell out the windows all I want. And there's nothing you can do about it. So
I love it. I was about to tell you, you can be blunt. And then I thought about it. I'm like, he doesn't need me to tell him.
No, he don't.
You know, I mean, that's so true. I often wonder why people try to gatekeep out of race. But then at the same time, it's like, let's say that no white people ever wanted to participate in listening to rap or making rap music or anything like that. Then people would be like, oh, well, you think you're too good to be a part of our culture. So then it's like, you really can't win. But I am.
That's an interesting take. Because I've said that countless times. I've said it with a few guys. Like, I just look at it from the standpoint of, are you good or are you not? Because it's like, it's some folks that are actually legit. But then it's also folks, though, it don't matter what you look like. It's folks that are that's black, white, Latino, whatever, and they're not good. Or at least it's not for me. I'll say that. It's not my cup of tea personally. But like, I personally don't think it makes sense to gatekeep. Like, I just don't get it. It doesn't really make sense. I feel like it's pointless to do that. Because I just feel like somebody had to start it, and it takes everybody to, I would think it takes everybody to move it forward. You know? I just think it takes everybody to move it forward. Like, I feel like if stuff is gonna continue to go somewhere, it needs people to move it. It has to have people that are the artists, and it takes people who are the fans and the supporters of it. And it's like the people who consume the content. And it's like, if the people who are not consuming it, whether you look like anything, whether you purple, black, green, whatever, it's like, if it don't matter what you look like, if somebody's not consuming it, it's not, the genre can't grow. So it's like, to gatekeep it, it doesn't really make sense to me. I just don't think it makes sense.
Wondering too, it's like, when you are hearing all the stereotypes where they try to categorize all of you as Eminem, what do you think of that?
Honestly, it doesn't really bother me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that as a compliment. In my opinion, I don't think him and I see eye to eye politically. I don't think we'd ever going to be best friends or anything like that. But all that aside, he's one of the greatest rappers, white or black or yellow or brown or whatever, to ever exist. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there's worse things to be compared to. Mm-hmm. People compare me to Macklemore sometimes, and I'm not too fond of that.
Nah.
So I mean, I'll take that one thing. I mean, it's just, you know, Eminem's a white rapper. I'm a white rapper. If that's the line you want to draw, if surface level is as deep as you're gonna get, I mean, by all means.
Fair enough. Do you feel like there is systemic racism behind the scenes as a white rapper in the hip hop world?
I'm probably not the best person to ask about that, because I make my own beats. I release my own music independently, from the song concepts to the beat production to the recording to the mixing and mastering to designing the t-shirts to distribution of the music to marketing, music videos. Like, it's all me and my girlfriend. Mm-hmm. So unless I wake up tomorrow and my girlfriend's a racist and doesn't like me, I'm never going to have to deal with that, because I built my own ecosystem outside of the music industry. So there's gatekeeping everywhere, and we talked about it in the Stories of Us at length and in depth. But, you know, being independent is such a blessing, because I get to avoid a lot of the stuff that maybe mainstream white rappers, Macklemores and guys like that, I get to avoid a lot of the stuff that I'm sure that they've gone through.
You know, with the gatekeeping, does it get draining at a certain point where I feel like a lot of artists who speak out against the grain, or they're willing to not play all the industry, like play by the industry rules, I should say, they end up getting blackballed from the Grammys. They don't get invited to certain places. And they always say like, oh, I don't care, I don't need them anyway. But I feel like as an artist, more often than not, you don't believe that when you say that. You actually do wish that you could be getting the recognition that your work and the quality of your work deserves. How do you find that balance?
Really comes down to like how you define sort of like success and like what your goals are in this thing. Because we talked about this in Stories of Us as well, but there's artists out there, and I'm friends with some of them, who like, their gauge, their measuring stick is like, I want to go to the parties and I want to walk the red carpet and I want to get the award and I want to shake hands with these guys and be on the radio and do this and do that.
Ooh, the shaking hands thing. That was one thing that I really felt like, I've said it before, but like when it came to like YouTube, I felt like if I can't shake hands with this person and that person, I'm not going to, or I want to shake hands with these people, to the point where I was like, I felt like I was kind of doing it for the wrong reasons. Like I felt like I was doing YouTube for the wrong reasons at a certain point. And it was like, dog, like I can't just be so focused on wanting to shake hands or be around these people or that person or that person. Because it's like, it seems like things have been different since I've kind of like not really been worried about doing certain things with certain people. And like being like, oh, I gotta be around this person, or I gotta talk to this person, or hang around that person. And it's like, it seems almost like a level of freedom when you don't move like that, or you're not worried about the bigger creators and so on and so forth. It's kind of like when you're just locked in on what you got going on and you're not really worried about what everybody else is doing. It's like a level of peace and freedom and joy in it, more so than before, when I felt like I was doing it. When I think, honestly, I felt like maybe I was like in the wrong headspace, you know?
And like, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, if that's what your goal is, then who am I to, you know, to tear that down? Mm-hmm. That's not what it is for me. Mm-hmm. For me, like, I want to make sure my girlfriend's taken care of. I want to make sure my family's taken care of. I want to make sure my mom, my dad, my sister, my dogs, my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, I want to make sure that everybody's taken care of and we're all good. And I've done that. I've turned down more deals than I can even remember at this point. I've gone head to head with the biggest that the industry has to offer, and I've beat them. Taylor Swift, Eminem, Drake, whatever. Mm-hmm. I've beat them all on the Billboard charts. Mm-hmm. Just because my name's not up on the billboard on Sunset and my music video is not playing in Times Square doesn't mean anything. Right. When it comes down to it, that's all marketing, and at the end of the day, the numbers aren't going to lie. And I've beat them tons of times. Yeah. So like, to me, it's like, these are people that my best friends I've had in my life for 10, 15 years. I don't know these people. These are strangers to me. I don't need their validation. I don't need an award. I don't need a handshake.
That's
I don't need a photo with you at a party. I literally don't care.
That's what it is. It stopped being about other people's validation, bigger content creators' validation, and it started being about me and wanting to, like he said, I want to take care of my peoples. You know what I'm saying? I want to take care. Make sure I'm good. My dog is good. And it's just like doing something that I enjoy doing. You know what I'm saying? And actually like making an impact in some form or fashion. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, continue.
Good now. 7 years ago, I lived in Crenshaw. I was plugging my fridge into my neighbor's house when they cut our power off because we couldn't pay the power bill. I come from having nothing. I just don't ever want to go back to having nothing. But what I've got now, I'm cool with. I literally, actually, I swear to you, on God, I do not give a shit. I'm good.
I believe you 100%.
There may be a lot of rappers and artists out there who say, "Oh, I don't need I don't need the award and I don't need this," and secretly they're writing notes of affirmation and sticking them to their mirror. You're going to get a Grammy one day. That's not me. Mm-hmm. It's never going to be me. I could quit tomorrow and I'm good.
You know, I can attest that I know for a fact that you've been beating out some of these top artists on the charts, because I will never forget when Facts came out with you and Ben Shapiro and you were competing with Meg Thee Stallion. And honestly, I think that's a perfect example of an artist that is truly marketing, because if you really break down the numbers, a lot of artists like Meg Thee Stallion or Cardi B or even Travis Scott, I've seen their numbers can very much be traced to streaming farms and just excessive PR campaigns and just a lot of corruption that between Billboard and the radio industry and all these different elements of the industry, they're making it seem like everybody cares about these artists. But then the artists that are actually popular, who are independent, who don't have those huge systems behind them, it's like they're the ones that are actually building a core audience and making real progress and success and quality music. So I do want to ask you, like, are you familiar with the Spotify streaming machines and how these artists are manipulating the charts?
You know he is. You know he is.
Like, we spoke about this in depth on Stories of Us, but these streaming platforms have relationships with the record labels. It's really easy to have 800 million monthly listeners when Universal has an agreement with Spotify that every time artist A, B, or C drops a single, it's going to go on the 400 biggest playlists on earth, and we're just going to blow up that song. And like, you know, the stream farming thing is like a big claim, and I feel like it's a big enough claim that like you have to be able to prove that if you're going to say these guys are faking their streams. But even beyond outright faking the streams, when the record label that you're signed to has a relationship with Apple Music, has a relationship with Spotify, has a relationship with Tidal, and these companies are putting you on the biggest playlist that they have to offer, do you really have fans at that point? Or are these people just passively listening to your stuff through a playlist that they've subscribed to on their Spotify? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like if all of those artists were forced to, and there's exceptions, obviously. People like Kanye West, diehard fan base.
Mm-hmm.
If he activates his supporters to do something, they're going to do it. Tyler, the Creator. If he activates his people, they're going to do it. But a lot of these guys, these huge, renowned, world famous artists, if the criteria to go on the Billboard charts, if we took streaming out of the equation and we took radio out of the equation, because every time your record spins on the radio, that carries a lot of weight on the Billboard charts.
Mm-hmm.
It's weighted heavier than streams, and it's weighted heavier than downloads. If you wipe out radio play and you wipe out streams, and now that artist is forced to have their fans physically purchase their music on iTunes, not passively stream it from a playlist. You have to go to iTunes and you have to spend 99 cents and you have to download the song to your phone.
Like I used
if you
to
put
be.
those world famous artists in that arena with people like me and others like me, that will show you the true size of their fan base. And I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be able to compete.
Right.
Because we have real fans that have an appetite for something that the mainstream music industry is not providing. They don't want this over-manufactured, overproduced, made-up, fake bullshit. They want something real and authentic and genuine. They don't have real fans. They have passive listeners. So if you put us both on a level playing field, and the record labels back up and they're not interfering, and it's just straight up, it's you and me, and it's whoever's going to get the most people to actually physically download their song. Not listen to it on a playlist, not hear it on the radio driving to work, download the song. They're going to lose.
I'm like a Billboard trivia nerd, so like I pay attention every week to when the charts come out, and it frustrates me because Billboard just keeps increasing the amount of weight that radio has on the position on the charts. So there are songs that
I got a question. How many of y'all actually still listen to the radio? Because I'm gonna be flat out honest. Like, until my car situation changed, like ever since my car situation changed, I don't listen to the radio no more. Like, if I'm listening to something, I got it like connected to my phone, and it's like I'm Bluetoothing it to the thing, and then I'm playing it from like YouTube or something like that. But how many of y'all actually still listen to the radio? Because for the radio to have that much impact, I wonder how many people actually still listen to it.
Nobody. And I mean, nobody is even streaming. Nobody is listening to. Nobody is paying attention to. And it's been in the top 10 for 30 weeks. And then you look at why. It's like all their numbers are so minuscule, except the radio, the weight of the radio and the payola that we know is going on behind the scenes. So
why is
it's
that?
interesting to be able to talk to someone that's in the industry, but also independent, to be able to see it from the outside, because I feel like a 360 deal is basically selling your soul at this point.
Man, I know people that are on 360 deals, and I know what I'm making, and I've asked them what they're making, and the music industry is as close to criminal as you can possibly get without going to prison. Like it's unfortunate because, you know, we're all artists and we all have these dreams of the whole world hearing our songs and stuff. And when you're in a position of power in the music industry, at a record label or whatever, it's very, very, very easy to take advantage of and exploit a dreamer. So, you know, that's why that's happening, man.
So people talk a lot about TikTok's impact on political issues, but how do you feel about TikTok's impact on the rap industry? Because a lot of people criticize that TikTok has made it to where people don't care about quality music anymore. People don't even make albums anymore. They just want a quick, catchy hit that is going to have 15 seconds for someone to dance to. And a lot of people have said that that's part of why the quality of music has dropped a lot in the last few years.
Never really thought about it, honestly. But I mean, TikTok is definitely having an impact. There's a TikTok chart on Billboard now, which is relatively
crazy.
new. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like charts that can be impacted by things like TikTok, I feel like it primarily benefits mainstream and independent artists that have a message that runs parallel with the mainstream narrative. Because for an artist like myself, like TikTok's practically useless. Every time I have 1 million followers on TikTok, and every time I post a video, it gets 4,000 views. And it's because
Really?
of what's being said in my music and the message that I'm talking about,
Oh, yeah.
and et cetera, et cetera. I've been banned on TikTok like a dozen times, and my account just continually just like reappears like all of a sudden. And I've never like put too much stake in it or thought about it too hard, or, you know, it's already hard enough, like making a song with a message that a lot of my songs have, and then getting that video to even serve on YouTube, that like, and like the ridiculous community standards on YouTube, like if you have like a red cup in a video and you're at a party scene, YouTube's like, oh, there's you're inferring that you're consuming alcohol, and like, and so you can't do that, and you can't have a firearm in the video, and you can't do this, and you can't do blood, and you can't. So it's like I'm already like suppressing my own visual art to allow it to exist on this platform so I can reach people. And like, that's already too much for me. That's already exhausting. So I can't even put any thought or energy into like, oh, what's a 30-second thing that I can do in this song that's going to make a bunch of 13-year-olds that, you know, identify as pufferfish on TikTok dance to it. Like, I can't.
I really do appreciate that you have found truly the art form of putting messaging into your songs without it sounding gimmicky. Because I feel like certain people that, and I'm not going to throw shade at anybody, but some people try to put either political messaging or just like anti-woke messaging into their songs, and it sounds so cringe.
Yeah.
Like, how is it that, is it just talent? It's like, is that just what it boils down to? Talent, being able to do it in a way that's so smooth? Because people will be sitting there dancing to your song, not even realizing that you're just destabilizing the government along the way.
Yeah. Thank you. I don't know, man. I think that like, I'm really self-aware. Like, I make cringy stuff all the time, and I'm like self-aware enough to be like, ugh. I gotta like, I can't say that way, or like I have to change how that's coming off, because yeah, it doesn't sit right with me. So like, I don't know, man. Like I was a musician who, you know, I had this like real pivotal moment in my life where I had this like huge mental breakdown, and I got sober, and and that sort of birthed the type of music that I'm making now, because prior to what I'm doing now, I was making the same music that everybody else was making. You know, cars, guns, clothes, girls, money, houses, like whatever. So like that music was devoid of any valuable message at all. But in the absence of having a message, it had to sound good. Like I had to learn how to make music that sounded good. So I think that's probably why it might come off a little different, because before I was doing what I'm doing now, I was making a completely different style of hip hop that was like pleasing to the ear, and you could like nod your head to or dance to or whatever. And then when emulating what was going on in those songs, emulating it in my real life, and drinking and partying and valuing the wrong things, et cetera, when that like almost like killed me and destroyed me, I had to figure out like, okay, I no longer want to make music that's going to do to other people what living this music has done to me. So what do I do? So I talk about the things that I speak about with my friends and my family, and I talk about stuff that's going to empower people instead of tear people down, and make music that's giving people information instead of reinforcing poor moral standard. And like, with the sort of birth of the new message driven music I make, it's still got to be palatable and digestible and whatever. And I think I gained that skill set when I was making the prior music. So it's just like both of those things smashed together, just kind of find a happy, you know, symbiotic relationship there.
I love that you say that about wanting to change the messaging that you're putting out to your audience, because I look at a rapper like Future and it makes me so mad how he's constantly talking about drugs he's never done and guns he's never held, and then he gets his followers and his audience, and not even just Future, but it's pretty much an industry standard at this point, to popularize lifestyles that you are not living.
Ooh, I love that he said that. So I remember there was an artist, D1, he called out Rick Ross, Meek Mill, and Jim Jones. And he said basically he was talking about how they were promoting music that they like a lifestyle you don't live, or at least you don't live it anymore, right? Because it's like you've been out the hood for probably about like a decade now, and it's like you acting like you write music like you still live there. And I remember how folks responded to it, and it was one of them things where folks was like, you don't know what I did to not know what I did, but it was like, what was it? What did one person say? I think Ross just pretty much just talked about like what he does for the community, like buying turkeys and toys around Thanksgiving and so on and so forth. Not really, from what I remember, not really answering the question. And then it was something, I think Jim Jones was basically talking about like, if I remember it right, I'm paraphrasing it, but it was basically like, this is how I make my money. This is how I take care of my family. Paraphrasing it again. So like, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't really understand like promoting something, like promoting a lifestyle you don't live to take care of the family. When it's like you're at a point now where it's like you don't really have to do that. At least I don't think you would have to. Right? But like, I don't know, I just feel like the main thing is just about being honest and transparent and being real. Even and again, like one thing, like I said, I don't necessarily agree with everything Tom says, but like it's some stuff that I'm like, the one thing I can't agree on though is like, be who you are, be yourself. Don't sit there and pretend to be something that you're not. And it's like, it's interesting hearing Tom say something like, I used to make music like everybody else. And I'm like, really? You did? I thought you came out like, you know what I'm saying? Like the songs that like the song we talked about earlier, like People So Stupid and, stuff like that. I thought he came out like that, but I guess not. But it's interesting seeing like how folks are really like how many people really appreciate honesty. And honestly, I'll be surprised when folks really, really are okay with you being who you are. Because I'll be ready to, I guess, be on defense, especially when folks are like, when I'll say something and I'm like, oh, okay, folks probably not gonna like that, but okay, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But then it's like when people respond differently, I'm like, people are so surprising to me. People can change, or people are not always going to be how you think that they are, which is interesting to me. Kind of scary a little bit, though. I ain't going to fake it. It's like you think you fully understand something and you really don't. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, continue.
Held, and then he gets his followers and his audience, and not even just Future, but it's pretty much an industry standard at this point to popularize lifestyles that you are not living. You have these rappers out here talking about doing insane amounts of drugs and talking about ways of literally basically killing themselves, and yet they're going home living these conservative lifestyles. They're going home to their wife and kids, and they're not participating in any of the stuff that they're talking about.
Sure.
Do you think that that is a toxic industry standard that needs to shift, or do you think that that's something that's going to keep being pushed out?
These guys know their demographic. Like the biggest rappers in the world, they're not dumb. You don't get to be in a position like that if you're an idiot.
Some of them do. Cardi B's not that smart.
Wow.
She knows what's going on, though. You talk to some people and they say Cardi's a fierce businesswoman.
Really?
Yeah. I talked to somebody 2 days ago that said that. Bought a car from this guy. Anyway, that's another story. They may be dumb, but they know who they're making music for. They recognize what the demographic is. And like 5 years ago, the demographic of hip hop was like 14 to 21-year-old white American youth. So as long as there is that demographic of people who think that what they're talking about is cool, they're going to continue making the music. It's just like it's a moneymaker. I think what's like most important is like where I went wrong was because I was young and impressionable, and I heard these people talking about the guns and cars and drugs and alcohol and all that stuff. I just assumed because I was young and stupid that this was all legitimate and this was real and they're living their life that way, and I like these people, so I want to live my life that way, and it almost ended my life. So I think like, I don't know if the answer is like there has to be some sort of culture shift or paradigm shift in the culture, and we have to stop making this type of music. I think like the most important thing is for the parents of the kids that are listening to this music need to like smarten up their kids to the fact that like, hey, what you're listening to, you understand that's not real life, right? Like these guys are talking about this stuff, but they're not living that way. That's what my dad did for me when I first got like my first Eminem CD, and I'm playing that at 20 volume. Like my dad pulled me aside and said like, hey, this is a very talented guy and he makes really cool music, and I understand why you like it, but you understand the stuff that he's saying about hitting women and doing drugs and drinking. You understand that's not cool, right? And like he made me, you know, stopped me to make me think like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. So I think that like, that's the most important thing is to the kids that are
Parents, have you had to have that conversation with your kids? If so, like, how did that conversation go? Because like, I'm trying to think, did my parents have that conversation with me? I don't even know if my parents had that conversation with me. I think it's something that I kind of saw. I think my parents really let me see a lot of stuff on my own. And it was like, just kind of like looking at, seeing how like certain things and stuff, like it kind of like your discernment start to like, well, not even just your discernment, but your common sense start to kick in. Because it's like again with the D1 situation, it's kind of like if you talk to somebody and it's like, how are you still living that life, or how are you still able to make songs like that, and you haven't lived that lifestyle in God knows how long, if ever. You know, because you never really know what type of life folks really live. You know, that's one thing when it comes to just the entertainment industry at all. I learned to take it as entertainment. I learned to treat it as strictly just entertainment. If somebody drops a gem, cool. If somebody says something that really, it's like it relates or it inspires me and so on and so forth, I take it. But when it comes to like just people's lifestyles, I kind of take certain things with a grain of salt. I don't really think too deep. I've tried not to think so much about it. I try not to think too deep about it, you know, because it's like, again, you never really know what's real and what's not. And I'll say when it came to like that, especially like this whole like country rap thing, I'm like, bro, I don't know what's real and what's not. I just have a bunch of questions. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. It's just one of them things, again, with this whole like entertainment thing, you never really know what's real and what's not. And I kind of try to stay to myself to a degree. I have people that I'll even like, I'll consider working with people, or it's some people I'm like, yo, like, yeah, let's see what's up. But then it just won't work, or it won't go anywhere. So it's just kind of like, okay, I just kind of be like, you know what, let me back up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But like, I kind of like being in my own thing. You know what I'm saying? It seems like it's a lot less trouble like that. Or if it's somebody that I'm like, you know what, this person seems like they're pretty legit. Let me see what's up. And then, but yeah, like it's just sometimes this is one of them things I'm like, the entertainment field is a very interesting place, especially when you just kind of get to sit back and watch, you know?
shift or paradigm shift in the culture, and we have to stop making this type of music. I think like the most important thing is for the parents of the kids that are listening to this music need to like smarten up their kids to the fact that like, hey, what you're listening to, you understand that's not real life, right? Like these guys are talking about this stuff, but they're not living that way. That's what my dad did for me when I first got like my first Eminem CD, and I'm playing that at 20 volume. Like my dad pulled me aside and said like, hey, this is a very talented guy and he makes really cool music, and I understand why you like it, but you understand the stuff that he's saying about hitting women and doing drugs and drinking. You understand that's not cool, right? And like he made me, you know, stopped me to make me think like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. So I think that like, that's the most important thing is to the kids that are listening to this stuff need to have an understanding that it's like if you walk into a movie theater and you see some guy get his head cut off, that guy's going home to his family with a big paycheck, and that's what he does on screen, on film. That's not how he's living his life. You know, the Breaking Bad dude, not a meth dealer, actor. So I think that's just like a really important thing to like teach these kids. Like, hey, this is who this guy is in his songs, and that's what he does in his music videos. Too. That's not his real life. And if you act like him in his music videos and him in his music, your real life is going to end up in a real bad way.
Yeah.
that's the best way, like, is to be preventative, because I don't think it's going to change. So as long as parents take some responsibility, or, you know, whatever, if your buddy's like drinking cough syrup on a Friday night because he thinks it's cool, like, pull your buddy over and be like, bro, stupid move.
Yeah.
Like, you know why people started drinking cough syrup? Not because they're big, rich, famous rappers, because they had no money and they were living in a poverty zone and they couldn't afford liquor and they started abusing stuff. I think it's just like important to just like smarten kids up and give them the information. And if that isn't enough, then I mean,
yeah, it's like you have to stop being so impressionable at a certain point. It's like, yes, I get it. Your rapper that you're listening to is talking about having Percocets in Abu Dhabi, but you're in a library in Chicago. It's like,
no, that's crazy.
And that's a much better place to be.
It is. And it's like, and I'm not a prude when it comes to music. Like, I listen to all my little ratchet degenerate music too. I love my degenerate music, but that doesn't mean I'm out being a degenerate. To me, it's just alarming how there's such a push for it, because I do hear certain rappers talk about how they want to shift their subject matter, but it's like the label executives don't really give them that leeway. And I feel like right now, especially in Diddy's America, everybody's looking at who is like, where is this power structure coming from? Why is the industry so determined to not only destroy their audience, but their artists and their audiences are both getting harmed by all of this?
I think the best way to be immune to the poisonous effects or the influential effects from the music is having the knowledge and just understanding what you're listening to. I think you can keep yourself pretty safe. I feel like, and I said this next door too, and a lot of people say, oh, you're a conspiracy guy or like whatever, but I feel like the music industry, the mainstream media, the government, and whoever's behind that all work in like tandem.
I mean, that's not
think
crazy.
They all have
That's not crazy.
a message and an agenda, and the kids that the music reaches, like, they don't watch like the news. They're not going to listen to like some guy on TV in a suit with white hair, 60 years old. Kid doesn't give a shit about that. They listen to Future. They listen to Cardi B. This is just my personal feelings, but I feel like they promote valuing really expensive, high-end brand name clothes is because they want people broke. And I think that they talk so much about alcohol and drugs is because they want people docile and dumb. And overall, they want people weak and f***ed up, and it's a lot easier to control a bunch of people that rely on you, that rely on the system, or that are drunk or addicted or broke or valuing the wrong things. It's a lot easier to manage a population in peril than it is to uplift and empower everyone. And then you got all these free thinkers standing around that aren't on drugs, that are eating good food, that are healthy, that are, you know, that have the wherewithal to think for themselves. That's a difficult group of people to keep control of. So, you know, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I think all of the biggest industries are sort of this conglomerate, and they control different people in different ways. And the music industry is part of that. And the CEOs and the record labels are part of that. And they have the music that they want to push, and they want to influence people in a negative way. And that's what it is.
See, that's what I miss, because like, it's one of them things with bro where it's like, I feel like he gets it. You know what I'm saying? It's certain things, like I said, though, it's certain things, of course, I don't agree with, but it's still things like that where it comes down to, like, you know, feeling like there's folks that's like, you know, trying to, it's like they know what certain music is gonna do to certain people. Like, it's like, if you listen to a song a certain amount of times, it can really shake how you think, whether the song is positive or negative. And it's like, I personally think it's a reason why certain songs get played on the radio on repeat. Matter of fact, the radio's on when I'm at work, and I can hear you will hear the same song on the radio play at least maybe 5-6 times in a shift, right? Like in a work shift, you'll hear that mug play at least 5 to 6 maybe different times. And it's like, folks know like which songs to constantly be like, okay, play this, because I know the people want to hear this, and da 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 da. But it's like, music can really shake how you think. And it's like, yeah, like again, what he was saying, like, you know, folks at the end of the day, they know it's a business, and they know, like, okay, let's push this because this is the thing that people are entertaining right now. Like when it came down to, there was a time period I seen on the internet where there was like, yo, if a man doesn't make $100K a year, ladies don't talk to him. If he doesn't look, if I remember there was a time period, oh boy, I remember in high school there was a time period where if you wasn't light skinned, chances is out the window with everybody. Like it was like, if you dark skinned, if you're not yellow, like, oh, you're through, you're done, you're canceled. Nobody wants you, you're done. It's over with. Like it's like between, I think it was between 2005 and 2009, I think it was. You could not be dark skinned. It's like, it's so many different things that media pushes, and it's like, bro, like, why do you keep? It's like you keep trying to push this divisiveness. It's like they try to push division and all this other stuff, and it's like, or this certain type of music to keep folks like doing the crazy stuff that folks talk about in their songs. Oh, I'm gonna catch them at the red light, like, bro, like. But at the same time, it's like I think I agree with what Tom was saying too, as far as like it comes down to, I feel like us as the people, the consumers, it comes down to us. Because it's like, if we don't consume this, then this doesn't get pushed. They can't push something that the people aren't asking for. It's like supply and demand. It's the most simple business thing you'll ever hear about. Supply and demand. If there's a demand for this, they're gonna keep pushing it. If they know, like, we gotta put girls, we gotta put women doing this, you know what I'm saying, being, you know, in a certain type of way in the music videos, because this is what teenage boys want to see women doing. That they want to see the women dancing all around, shaking their behinds, stuff like that. That's what they want. That's what teenage boys and grown men want to see, right? So they keep pushing it. But if folks stop consuming it, so I think it just comes down to us as people. But again, like, I think it's interesting though, like, again, seeing how folks think outside of the music. So I think that's really dope. But I don't think about it here though. Peace, easy, baby. Leia.